The Chrono Collective. Riley sprinted through the neon-lit streets, the hum of futuristic vehicles overhead drowning out the pounding of his heart as he clutched the stolen device. The Chrono Collective's agents were closing in, their black suits blending seamlessly with the shadows of the towering skyscrapers that loomed over the city. Riley had spent years within the ranks of the Chrono Collective, unaware of the sinister plans that lay beneath their mission of preserving history. It wasn't until he stumbled upon a classified file that the truth hit him like a bolt of electricity: the Collective was altering history for profit. Derek, the elusive leader of the Chrono Collective, was the mastermind behind the manipulation of time, pulling strings from the shadows. Riley knew he had to act quickly. The longer he stayed in the current timeline, the more likely he was to be caught and erased from existence. He activated the temporal device strapped to his wrist, feeling a rush of disorientation as the world around him warped into a blur of colors. Moments later, Riley found himself standing on the cobblestone streets of a medieval town, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and damp earth. The device beeped softly, signaling the presence of another Chrono agent nearby, sent to ensure this moment in history remained unaltered. Riley ducked into an alley, watching as the agent passed by, their gaze fixed on a crowd of peasants gathered in the square. He had to be careful. One wrong move could alter the course of history, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Riley's mission was clear: he needed to gather evidence of the Collective's tampering across multiple timelines and expose their operation. The medieval town faded into the background as Riley activated the device again, this time landing in the heart of the Roman Empire. He marveled at the grandeur of the city, but there was no time to admire the architecture. He had a job to do, and the clock was ticking. Riley carefully planted a recording device near the Senate, capturing a conversation that would later be twisted by the Chrono Collective. With the evidence secured, Riley disappeared into the crowd, blending in with the togas and sandals of ancient Rome as he prepared his next jump. He arrived in 19th century Paris, the streets alive with the sound of carriages and the scent of freshly baked bread wafting through the air. Riley's contact was Lena, a fellow rogue time traveler who had been hiding from the Collective for years, waiting for the right moment to strike. They met in a dimly lit cafe, exchanging information and devising a plan to dismantle the Chrono Collective from within. Lena handed Riley a small vial, its contents glowing faintly, a substance that could disrupt the Collective's temporal anchors. With a nod of understanding, Riley set off toward his next target, a critical moment in the early 21st century that the Collective had altered. The bustling cityscape of the 21st century overwhelmed Riley as he navigated the streets, searching for the exact point of interference. He found it in a nondescript office building, where a key decision had been influenced by the Collective to ensure future corporate empire's dominance. Riley slipped the vial into the building's ventilation system, releasing the disruptive substance and resetting the timeline to its original course. The world around him shimmered, the subtle shifts in reality barely noticeable to the ordinary observer, but Riley knew the impact was significant. He quickly activated the device, leaping forward in time to the year 2099, where the Collective's headquarters lay hidden in a sprawling metropolis. The city of 2099 was a maze of towering skyscrapers and holographic advertisements, the sky a constant swirl of neon and rain. Riley infiltrated the Collective's headquarters, using his knowledge of their security systems to avoid detection as he made his way to the central hub. He reached the core of the building, a massive chamber filled with temporal monitors displaying countless timelines, each one manipulated by the Collective. Derek stood at the center of the room, his hands manipulating the controls with the ease of a maestro conducting a symphony. Riley watched in horror as Derek altered the events of a pivotal moment in the 22nd century, ensuring the rise of a despotic regime. Determined to stop Derek, Riley quietly approached, preparing to confront the man who had once been his mentor and now was his greatest enemy. Derek turned, a knowing smile on his face as if he had expected Riley all along, his eyes cold and calculating as he spoke. "You can't stop progress, Riley," Derek said, his voice dripping with arrogance. "History is ours to shape, and you're just a relic of the past." Riley lunged forward, but Derek was faster, activating a temporal pulse that sent Riley reeling through a vortex of swirling timelines. Riley landed hard in a strange new world, the landscape an eerie mix of past and future, where ancient ruins stood alongside futuristic structures. Disoriented but undeterred, Riley realized that Derek's pulse had thrown him into a hybrid timeline, a place where the consequences of their battle would unfold. Riley's device was damaged, leaving him stranded in this merged reality, with no way to return to his original timeline. He explored the landscape, encountering people and places that were familiar yet distorted, remnants of histories that never fully existed. As Riley pieced together the fragments of this new world, he understood that his actions had created a ripple effect across time. He found Lena in this altered timeline, her memories of their previous alliance intact, though the world around them had changed drastically. Together, they devised a new plan, one that would allow them to stabilize the timeline and prevent further disruptions. Riley and Lena worked tirelessly, using their knowledge of the collective's methods to rebuild a semblance of order in this fractured reality. They managed to secure a temporal beacon, a powerful device that could anchor the timeline and prevent further interference from the collective. As they activated the beacon, the world around them began to stabilize, the merging of timelines slowing to a stop. Riley knew that while they had succeeded in halting the collective's immediate plans, the timeline would never return to its original state. He accepted that this new reality was now his home, a place where history had been altered but could still be protected from future threats. Lena decided to stay by Riley's side, the two of them becoming guardians of this new timeline, preserving its integrity against any who might seek to exploit it. The Chrono Collective's power was broken, but Riley and Lena knew that others might rise to take their place, driven by greed and the allure of power. Riley felt a sense of purpose in this new role, no longer just a rogue time traveler but a protector of history, ensuring that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. He often thought of the life he had left behind, the timeline that was now beyond his reach, and the people who would never know his sacrifice. But Riley had no regrets. He had made the choice to fight for what was right, even if it meant losing everything he once knew. The world around him was different, but it was still a world worth saving, a place where the future could be shaped by the choices of those who lived within it. Riley and Lena continued their work, quietly and without recognition, their efforts unseen but vital to the preservation of history. They knew that time was a fragile thing, easily manipulated but never fully controlled, and it was their duty to safeguard it for the generations to come. The Chrono Collective was no more, but the lessons learned from their actions would echo through time, a reminder of the cost of tampering with history. Riley and Lena became legends in their own right, their names whispered in the shadows of time's protectors of the timeline, unseen but ever present. And so, the story of the Chrono Collective came to an end, not with a grand victory, but with the quiet resolve of two individuals determined to do what was right. The timeline was secure, but the future remained unwritten, a vast canvas waiting to be painted by the hands of those who would follow in Riley's footsteps.